now that your paper is labeled, let's go ahead and look over this lesson sheet together. The main idea here is that when you're going to use a formula, you're going to start by writing and saying the whole formula. It says start by writing and saying the whole formula. So let's use a formula that you know. So let's use a formula for a concept that you're pretty familiar with, the area of a rectangle. The formula to find the area of a rectangle looks like this. Okay? We write area, and we put a small rectangle, smaller and lower than it, but we say the area of a rectangle. So go ahead and practice that here. Write the word area neatly, and here's your baseline. Area, and then draw a small rectangle, lower and smaller than the rest of the word. Very good. Next, you're going to write an equal sign. What you're going to say is calculated by. So we have the area of a rectangle is calculated by. Next, I'm going to write a capital H, a multiplication dot, and a W, a capital W. But I'm going to say the height number multiplied by the width number. Alright? So let's practice that again. I want you to neatly copy and say the formula 4 times. So you're going to copy the formula and say it. Then you're going to practice writing and saying the formula on your own 8 times. Notice you are writing it and saying the whole formula. Each part up here tells you what you're going to say. So, the area of a rectangle is calculated by the height number multiplied by the width number. The area of a rectangle is calculated by the height number multiplied by the width number. Area of a rectangle is calculated by the height number multiplied by the width number. Now your turn. You lead means writing it and saying it. Go ahead. Area of a rectangle is calculated by height number times the width number. And now you're just going to drill writing it and saying it. Remember, you are writing and saying. Okay, we are writing and saying the formula. Area of a rectangle is calculated by height number times width number. Area of a rectangle is calculated by height number times width number. So I want you to finish, pause the video here, and finish this whole section. Continue to write and say the formula as you write it on your own. Good job practicing writing and saying that formula. It's really going to help you memorize it, but more importantly, it's setting you up for great habits in math down the road. Now sometimes, let's continue with our lesson sheet. Sometimes, instead of writing the word area, we just write the initial letter, A. The formula would look a little bit different, but still means the exact same thing. When written with just the initial letter, the formula for finding the area of a rectangle looks like this. Area of a rectangle is calculated by height number times multiplied by width number. So you're going to do the same thing down here. You're going to practice copying it. Then you're going to practice you're going to practice writing and saying the formula on your own using just the initial. So instead of the entire word area, A for area. Area of a rectangle is calculated by height times width. Area of a rectangle is calculated by height times width. Area of a rectangle is calculated by height times width. Area of a rectangle is calculated by height number multiplied by width number. Go ahead and finish up on your own using just the initial to write the formula, not the entire word area. Go ahead, pause the video if you need to, and finish that now. Okay, good. And it's important that once you have written and said the formula, that you immediately go back and make sure you wrote it down correctly before you use the formula. This is a key idea. Immediately go back and make sure you wrote it down correctly before you use the formula. If you wrote down the formula wrong, even if you know the concept, if you wrote down the formula wrong, and you plug everything into that bad formula, into that wrong formula, well, you're going to get the wrong answer if you don't go back and catch that you made a mistake. So let's practice writing those square units. You're just going to write the units. Immediately write it to higher and smaller than the unit on the left. So if you're working with inches, you're going to write square inches. If you're working with the abbreviation of inches, you're going to write the abbreviation for inches and immediately put a little 2 there. So let's practice that. IN for inch, and then immediately go up higher than the N and put a 2 there. And that 2 helps us read that as square inches. Square inches. Square inches. If you're working with feet, same thing. Feet, and then you put in this 2 that is smaller and higher. And so now this says square feet. Square feet. Right next to the T, I'm going to go over and I'm going to write a 2 that's smaller and higher. Square feet. Same thing for yards. If I'm working with yards, I'm going to write yards, and I'm going to write square yards. Square yards. Square yards. Now let's put it all together, practicing writing the formula and filling it in. So after you've written it, you next go to the next line and keep everything lined up as you write each number from the actual problem where it belongs according to the formula. So here's a rectangle, and I need to find the area. And so the first thing I'm going to do is write and say the formula. Area of a rectangle. And I can write it out with the whole word area or just an A. Area of a rectangle is calculated by the height number multiplied by the width number. I'm going to keep everything lined up, so I'm going to put my pencil over my equal sign and bring it straight down. I'm going to write an equal sign again. And now I'm going to copy in the values from the actual problem. And so my height number, when I look at my example, this side is my height, and so my height number is 35. Multiplied by, when I look at my actual rectangle for the actual problem that I'm working here, this is my width, and so this is my width number. 23,685. Now my units are an imaginary unit just so that I can practice the idea of kips. That's an imaginary unit. I made it up just so that you're able to practice. And so I'm going to immediately write the square units. I'm going to write the unit kip. And then I'm going to put a square kip. Just like that. And see how my 2 is smaller and higher to help me say square kip square or square kip. And now you can't figure out what 35 times 23,685 is all by yourself just yet. And that's exactly why I chose these numbers. I just wanted you to follow these 3 steps. Write and say the formula. Check. Rewrite the equal sign. Check. Fill in the formula with the correct values. So I put the height number. I put the height number where height would go. And I put the width number where width would go. And so I'm done. This was just practice setting up the area formula properly.